with the event of Senator Akpoti Oduaghan Natasha of Nigeria accusing the Senate President Godswill Akpabio of sexual harassment. A lot of noise has been made and a lot of noise continues to be made about sexual harassment. As we talk about whether the story is true or not, there is also another case in France between some 4 women accusing the famous actor Gérard Depardieu of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is one of the most talked about subjects in our time, in this time. With what is happening in France, what is happening in Nigeria, and some other part of the country. And each time when it comes up, there is this issue of justice for the weak. But that's not the case. In today's session of Africa on the Move, we're going to ask and answer 2 crucial questions. What is sexual harassment? And also, what a woman can do to stay off sexual harassment. Stay tuned, and if it is your first time of coming to this channel, please do subscribe and keep following our channel. Welcome back. In today's session, we're going to answer 2 crucial questions. What is sexual harassment, and what can be done to stay off for a young girl, a woman, to stay off sexual harassment? We're going to be very sincere in this topic, and sometimes we're going to say things that you may not like, but if you listen keenly, you will understand that it is of great interest. And if you're younger, then this video is not for you. This video is for adults. To begin with, there are a lot of definitions about sexual harassment. But when I checked on ChatGPT to get a concise and summarized definition, this is what I got. Sexual harassment refers to unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature that affects a person's dignity, or create an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment. It can occur in many settings: work, school, public, online, or even in private relationships. Now, by sexual harassment, because a lot of men have been victims of sexual harassment without actually knowing that they were carrying out sexual harassment on the women. And that is why it is important for us to understand this and know how to, especially for the men, and know how to avoid it. Because the man and the woman are 2 different people. And certain things that you do for a man as a man, it might have nothing to a woman. It can be considered as sexual harassment. For example, you can be talking with your friend man, you rub your hand on his shoulder, and it's not considered as sexual harassment. But for a woman, it can be considered as sexual harassment, especially if she doesn't want that kind of touch. Because women are so sensitive, and their body remains their treasure. Unlike us men. To us men, it doesn't matter how you touch. But to women, it does. For example, if a man is standing somewhere and you mistakenly touch his butt, it's nothing to that man. But to a woman, it's not, because the woman's body is sexual and the woman's body remains precious to her. So by sexual harassment, we are talking here of inappropriate touching. Like I just said, inappropriate touching. Even touching a woman's hand can be considered as sexual harassment, especially if she has told you that she doesn't want you to touch her hand. Like sometimes you see, like for us men, sometimes maybe you're sitting on the table and talking with your friend man, you can hold his hand. Be careful. With a woman, it's not the same. If you hold a woman's hand when you're talking on the table, it can be considered sexual harassment. This is a highly relative topic, because what another woman might consider sexual harassment, another woman might not consider as sexual harassment. So before we make judgments sometimes on sexual harassment, we should understand this reality. Now, another issue is sexual subjective comments or jokes. You see, Natasha Akpoti considered that for the Senate president to tell her that, this your waist, your husband is enjoying it, meant sexual harassment. That is true. It can be possible. But you know, before the court, you have to defend it. You have to prove. You have to prove. Because sometimes I hear some men say, he's talking to a woman, sexual harassment. Yes, it's sexual harassment. Essentially, you can talk something to another woman, it's not sexual harassment. To another, it can be sexual harassment. So it depends on that particular woman. That's why I said it is subjective. It depends on whoever is in front of you. To another woman, if you joke with her and you say, if they give me you, I will not sleep the whole night. She can just joke over it. But to another woman, no. So we must understand this reality. Another issue is staring or leering. Just looking at a woman can be considered sexual harassment. I remember I went to an office and I was talking to a young lady and I was looking at her. At some point she said, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And I completely removed my eyes from her. You see, it's not like I was looking at her lustfully. The truth is that I was not even looking at her, because you know there are some times that you are looking at somebody but you are not actually seeing that person. Your mind is somewhere. But some women get caught in that. And so if that woman tells you, "Stop looking at me, stop it," you might not understand it, but to them it's different. Because I was like, but why did she complain about my look? Yes. And if you insist on looking at her, it can be considered sexual harassment. So it is very important. Another form of sexual harassment is sharing explicit content without consent. A lot of men are fond of this. Some of you understand, you can identify in this video. Yes. You start talking with a young girl, you start chatting with her on WhatsApp, the next thing you start sending her pornographic images and videos. She can consider that as sexual harassment. Oh yes. It can be sexual harassment. So you have to be very careful. Now, another issue is persistent unwanted attention. I was talking to a young girl, and I think after some time she wrote to me on WhatsApp and said, "Call me." And I said, okay. I called. So when I called, she said, "So if I did not ask you to call me, you wouldn't have called me?" And I said, "Oh no, I needed to get your permission. It's not like I don't want to call, but you need to give me permission. And now that you've given me permission, I'll keep calling." The truth is that a lot of men also don't get a clear clue of what sexual harassment is. Yes, a lot of men. And they don't understand that the woman is different from a man. You can take a phone and call your male colleague and you folk can chat. But don't do that to your female colleague. Before you do that, ask for permission. Ask them, "Can I call you?" It's true that I'm talking a lot here about men, but there are also women that harass men. And that is why it is important to understand this thing. What time can I call you? What is the best time for me to call you? So, persistent unwanted attention can also be considered as sexual harassment, which is very important for you to understand these details. Until you understand these details, you may be doing them, not actually knowing that you are harassing a man or you are harassing a woman. It's very essential to understand. And then, threats or blackmail in exchange of sexual favors. Natasha said the president told her that when she wanted to give a bill, even though she has to prove that. Because we must also be very careful. You can accuse somebody of sexual harassment and you are instead the one to pay. Because you have to prove. And at some point is also one of the issues that they usually use in court is that, especially when it has to do with a woman, is that the lawyers will claim that the women instigated the sexual harassment. Like in her case, for example, she said she went to present a bill to the president, and the president said, you see, if you just accept what I'm asking you, you will have everything. Now, the question in this case too can be considered that she instigated the harassment, because the court might ask her, is it in the procedure that before a bill is presented, it passes through the president? If the question is no, then that's already a weakness. So you must also be very careful. But in this case, what I'm saying here is that blackmail in exchange for sexual favor is sexual harassment. If you tell a man that if you don't sleep with me, I will not give you promotion. If you don't sleep with me, I will not increase your salary. If you tell a woman, if you don't sleep with me, I will not recruit you. That's sexual harassment. So it is essential for you to understand. Sexual harassment can be on both sides, but in most cases, women suffer sexual harassment a lot because a lot of men sometimes are very ignorant. And sometimes to a man, to us men, the things that a woman can do to you, you will like it. So you don't see it like some of the things I've just mentioned here. For example, if I look at my WhatsApp message and I see a fellow girl, even though we are not dating, send me pornographic images, I'll just delete it and I just say, Or if I'm standing and she comes and holds me, I'll just consider it. But to women, it's not always the same. And it is also important to know that harassment is the victims can be on both sides. It can be the man as can be the woman. So the responsibility lies in the harasser. Though, because of our judicial system in Africa, he who accused must defend. He who accused must prove. So if you accuse somebody of sexual harassment, be prepared to have all that you need to defend your case. This is it for the first part of this video. Stay tuned, and if it is your first time to fall on our video, please do subscribe and keep following and keep sharing our content, because it is because of you that we create this kind of content. Our second part of this video will be on what a woman or man can do to stay away from sexual harassment.